So C-Class, oder C Klasse auf Deutsch, doesn't really conjure up images of like big-time luxury cars or like serious sports sedans. It says to me entry-level Mercedes, entry-level near luxury car, something like that. Tire squeal, engine horn, C-Class, not AMG. Remember that. So one of the downsides of film is you really can't experience the size difference here. This is a significantly larger vehicle. If you've driven a C-Class in the past, you gotta kind of put that out of your brain because the wheelbase, it increased 3 inches, the length 3.7 inches, and the width 1.6 inches. The weight, 3,693 pounds. So that begs the question, what motivates this vehicle? There are 3 engines on offer currently, 2 or 4 cylinders, only one comes to the US. We'll cover the C300 in another film. But this is the fun one, at least until the C63 arrives. This one is a 3-liter V6 with 2 turbos strapped to it, 329 horsepower and 354 pound-feet of torque. Now, if you've watched our other films, you know we are a big fan of Yaguchi-san over at Lexus. But as much as we love Yaguchi-san, he seems to have a thing for engines that develop torque at very high RPMs. This kind of that engine. 5,260 is when peak torque comes in, and peak torque is maintained all the way to 6,000 RPM. So it's kind of, I don't want to say Honda S2000S because there is torque lower down, but if you really want to have a good time with the car, you've got to push it much harder, and you get that great engine noise, which you don't expect in a non-AMG Mercedes Benz. So this particular C400 is very oddly equipped. It doesn't have a sunroof, which is very strange to me. I've never seen a Mercedes Benz in the US without a sunroof. Granted, most taxis in Europe are Mercedes and they don't have sunroofs. Actually, some of those have sunroofs. And here, in this case, it's like a panoramic, it's a 2-panel deal, the whole roof. Very cool. I don't know why this car doesn't have it. But it doesn't mean this is like a stripper cheap car. I mean, this has got the Burmeister stereo. It's like 63 grand. I mean, think about that. 63 grand for a C-Class. But there is one incredibly important option, and that is the AWD suspension. So basically, it's a C-Class that rides on bags, or slammed on bags, however you want to put it. So there are 5 settings, really 4.5, because for the 5th setting is an individual setting, much like the Audis have, where you can dial in more steering, less suspension, and better throttle response, kind of customize it for whatever you want. And so right now I'm in eco mode, and you can tell not really the best to carve canyons with, but then again, this is a C-Class. But believe it or not, we can fix that. So we can go up to the next setting. Let's do that here. Comfort setting. Doesn't do much for the suspension. So let's change that to sport mode. And it gets a little bit tighter. There's a little bit more throttle response. But really what I want to go to is Sport Plus. And this is what changes the character of the car completely. And I don't mean just driving dynamics. This is no longer like a C-Class as you've experienced in the past. This truly now becomes a sports sedan. If you've watched many of my Mercedes films, you've seen me say pretty much every Mercedes, when they get up to speed, they drive all the same. And that really was the truth up until this car. This does not drive like a Mercedes. Okay, now watch this. I am going around. Look at this, like practically a hairpin turn, and this thing is actually taking it. I'm in a Mercedes C-Class, people. C-Class. This is not an SLS GT Black. This is not a C63 Black Series, and Tommy Kendall isn't somewhere to be found to go and do this. Dare I say downright fun? Riddle me this. What is different about this Mercedes than most other Mercedes-Benz on the planet? And notice I say most and not all. If you said this has a lot in common with the Mercedes-Benz NL besides a badge, you would be correct. You see, this C-Class is not manufactured by Hans and Dieter in the Vaterland. It is manufactured by Bubba in the good old USA in the South. You see, the story goes like this. Way back in 1992, Bernd Pischetsrieder, who ran a company that is based in Munich, I'll let you figure out who it is, decided they wanted to manufacture cars in the US, specifically Spartanburg, South Carolina. Well, their neighbors in Stuttgart, they weren't going to take that lying down. but they seem to have a bit of a sense of humor, so they found a town, or really a county, that has a funny name. You and I would pronounce it Tuscaloosa. The Germans, they pronounce it Tuscaloosa. And in 1993, Mercedes Benz announced they were going to start manufacturing a new SUV from this plant. And in 1997, MLs started rolling off the assembly line. Now, fast forward to 2014, and here is a second line, the C Class. Now, to put this all into perspective of how important this is to Daimler-Benz AG, they are manufacturing, or their capacity is going to be about 300,000 units out of this plant in Alabama. To put that in perspective, Toyota manufactures about 250,000 Camrys a year. So not insignificant for a luxury car manufacturer like Mercedes-Benz. Now, I want to point something out here. So we're coming up to a traffic light here, and I don't know why so many people are divided over this one feature that is not just to this car, but a lot of cars coming out of Europe, and you're starting to see it on more American cars, and that is the auto stop-start feature, which is very simple. You come to a stop, whether it's a stop sign, stoplight, traffic, whatever it is, and let's do that right now, and the car will shut itself off. So we're at a red light, and actually we want a red light, so let's stop. And does the car shut itself off? Oh, it's because I'm in sport? Now I'm in comfort. And the car just shut itself off. I don't know why everyone I speak to doesn't like this feature. Like, not car guys, but like the average guy who comes up to me, hey, you know, I want to buy this car, I want to buy that car. Why don't people like this? It's kind of a no-brainer. I'm sitting at a light. Now, granted, I could make a right on red here legally, but I'm trying to prove a point. Actually, now the point is gone. It's a green light. So I come off the brake and the car goes. Why don't you guys like this stop-start feature? It's, as I said, it's kind of a no-brainer. It saves, I want to say it's probably maybe on a good day, 10% fuel economy savings, so increase your MPG by that much if you're doing a lot of stop-start driving in town. So tell me in the comments below or via our social networks, MotoManTV, all one word, MotoManTV, all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Let me know your thoughts on this topic, because I personally like it, especially when I'm in a car like this, or even better, like a 911, where I like the starting sound of the engine, like to hear the thing come to life. You put the windows down, you're sitting there, and the thing just starts up, and it kind of, you're reassured that, you know what, this is a damn cool car. But I'm kind of weird like that. What do you guys think? Let me know, comments below, social networks, MotoManTV, all one word, MotoManTV, all one word. Okay, so yes, I am driving a German car, but I am a proud American, so I'm going to have to raise the flag here and say, look, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Volkswagen, a couple others have come to the south and started manufacturing there. Not only did they bring the suppliers that are required when you're manufacturing cars in a certain area or region of a country, but they also brought Boeing and Airbus. I would argue that the suspension is not the only reason why this doesn't drive like your traditional Mercedes-Benz. Notice the seating position. Notice where I am set up here. I'm not in this position because I'm gonna like lay back and turn this thing into a hoopty and try to pick up some girls. I've got this thing set up as I would drive normally. So I've got a little bent knee, I've got my arms in the right position for the steering wheel so I can be somewhat loose and not grabbing on the wheel white knuckle kind of thing to go around corners. So with that, notice where I'm at. I'm sitting kind of low, I'm sitting in a Mercedes, not on a Mercedes. Get it? So there's been a bit of a seismic shift at Mercedes-Benz as of late, and it started with the S-Class. Back when we first looked at that car over in Hamburg, sat in it, and I was literally blown away. And it's very simple. It's as if a designer came up with a concept, and rather than going through the whole management approval process, it went straight to production. Now, that's hard to do normally, but in a $130,000+ car, it's less hard. But when you try to apply that to a $40,000 car, that's near impossible. But we kind of have an S-Class interior here. And it's not just shapes. It's even things like switchgear. Everything that looks like aluminum is aluminum. But it's also the textures of all the touch points. Very, very high quality stuff. Granted, not like the S63 that we drove, but damn close. This wood, stunning. It's an open pore wood. Granted, I personally would like it in a little lighter color, but love the fact that they still do the wood on this thing. And then notice the color combo here. I mean, this is a Mercedes. It's usually, what, Palomino MB text from back in the day, or black. Here is a burgundy interior on a palladium silver Mercedes, which is a gray silverish color. Then look at the interior on the console. Now, I know a lot of people who've been driving these cars complain about that iPad-esque thing there. It doesn't hide. I'm going to complain about it for a different reason. Not that it doesn't hide. I really couldn't care less if it hides or not. It's kind of neat to see all the apps on there. But what it takes away from is the stunning beauty that's been put into the design of that console. I don't want to look at something from Cupertino, California. I want to look at something that looks like it came out of a furniture design showroom in Italy. Now, I am acutely aware that most people that buy these things, release these things, which we've discussed before, will never do this kind of driving with these cars. But I have to say, driving this, the C400, which is kind of like the upper middle of the C class range, I can't wait for the C63. I mean, add in more power. And let's point something out. I was talking with a car guy, buddy of mine, Bill, and he made a really, really good point. He said, you know, look at that car out there. It's now the kind of the regular C class, and it's got 329 horsepower. It wasn't that long ago that the AMG version, remember, like, what is it, the C43? That was like the monster at like 370 horsepower. That was like, oh my God, a C-Class with 370 horsepower. And that wasn't really that long ago. Even the C55 wasn't ridiculous. What was it, 450, something like that? So kudos to Bill for pointing that out, that now, like, the main C-Class, at least in the US, is kind of like the AMG back in the day. I guess so much so that AMG throws in a fancy set of floor mats for you to kind of remind you of that point. So click here to watch one of our 250 other episodes. Click here to subscribe. And can we ask you guys a favor? Can you watch these within the first 36 hours? Because it gets us more views, which gets us more dollars, which gets you more episodes. And of course, follow us, MotoManTV, all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'll see you guys next time.